Hi everyone, I hope you guys are doing good. So as a part of our Liquibase tutorial series, in last lecture we learned about Liquibase context, right? Now in this lecture we will learn about Liquibase preconditions. So without wasting time, let's start. So I'll first go in Liquibase documentation page. This is the Liquibase doc page, right? I'll go in concepts, then in changelog. So in changelog, you can see there is a precondition, right? So just click on that. So you will be there in the precondition doc page. Okay. So what are the preconditions? Okay, preconditions are tags you add to your changelog or individual change set to control the execution of update, right? So preconditions are just like a tag or a preconditions, right? Which will decide your change set will be executed or not. For example, there is a table, right? And if you want to add an index or add an constant on that table, right? So I think to add the index or a constant on a table, the table should exist, right? So this table should exist. That will be your precondition, right? So along with defining your change set while adding your index or adding your constant, right? You can add these preconditions and that will help you to decide or that will help Liquibase to decide that they want to run your change log, original change log or not, right? What they have to do if precondition fails, right? So you have to guide that using Liquibase, right? So this is the precondition doc page, right? So syntax are very simple, right? So you will just add this precondition XML tag, right? And you just give the conditions which you want to check, right? So once this precondition passes, right, then only your change set will run, right? So you can add that on fail, what will happen? Okay. So this way we add the preconditions, right? This is another example, see SQL check, right? So we can add a SQL check type of precondition which and we can give the expected result like for in this example I am giving as 0, right? And select count star from example table, right? So this query should return the value as 0, right? If it's return the expected result, that means your precondition pass, right? And then only your that change log will get executed, right? The executions in your change log that will get executed, right? For multiple preconditions, right? So example is like that. You can define your multiple preconditions right here, and you can just keep it in your OR tag, right? So your conditions will be odd, right? So either condition 1 or condition 2 should be fulfilled so that your change log should get executed, right? So this is also one way, right? Then there is a preconditions, right? Multiple preconditions also you can define like this, like tpms. Then there's a running as I'm checking, right? So this is the way, right? So there are multiple syntax to do, right? You can also do and, right, on preconditions, multiple preconditions, right? So that way we can handle multiple preconditions, right? Liquibase define two types of precondition, right? So preconditions has failures or errors, right? So these are the attributes available, right? That on error, if your precondition fails, right? Or is there any, if there is any error in your precondition, right? So you can add these attributes like on error, on fail, right? On fail message, what you want to do, right? So we'll see the example on fail. If your precondition fails, what happens, right? Controls what happens if the precondition check fails, right? So we'll check. And when there is a fail, right? On fail attribute we defined, right? So on fail or on error precondition, the value can be continue, halt, mark ran, and warning. Okay. So on fail, what you want to do? The actions are like this: continue. You want to continue with the change set. You want to halt the change set. You want to mark it in the Liquibase change log table, or you just want to give warning and then execute that change set, right? So these are the actions, right? So there are multiple examples for preconditions, right? And let's see, available preconditions are given here, right? So example is change log property defined, right? So you can check change log property defined. So property is my property value is required value, right? So this is one example. You can check change set executed, right? So in change set executed, yeah, you can see change set executed ID equals to one, author and change log. Everything will be checked, right? Then only the precondition will pass, right? So you can check even the change set executed, right? Change set executed attributes, right? There's a column exist, right? So in that column exist, you can write the precondition column should be exist, right? So column should exist in which table? So table name you have to give and the column name you have to give, right? So this column one should exist in this table, right? Table one, then only your precondition will get satisfied, right? So there are multiple ways to define precondition, right? So all the precondition examples are given here. Like example, foreign key constant exist, right? So you can check here, foreign key constant exists, right? So what is the foreign key name? What is the foreign key table name, right? So you can add that here. Then there is a index exist, right? So in index exist also you can check that index should exist, right? So what is the index name you have to give, right? So table name you have to give, right? And see here on fail this warning, on fail warning, right? So these are the actions. What will happen if your precondition fails, right? So on fail there can be four attribute, right? Warning, halt, continue, right? And one more is halt, continue, warning, and mark run, right? Fourth one. Primary key exists, right? So you can check here primary key exists, primary key name you have to give and the table name, right? Row count, you can also even check the row count from the table, right? So you have to give the table name and the expected row count, right? So this is one precondition you can check, right? Running as sequence exist, right? Sequence should exist. So sequence name, right? So you can give the sequence name if sequence name exists. Most important one is this SQL check. So we use frequently this SQL check. Like you have to give a SQL, right? So I'm just giving a count and I'm just doing count, right? So I can and this count I'm giving it is as here, in the expected result, right? So if this query brings as one, right? If this query brings one, that is the expected result, then our precondition passes, right? Similarly, table exists, right? So in table exists, you have to give the table name that this table should exist. If not exist, so you can include that in the not XML tag, right? You can include that in the not, so it become not exist, table not exist, right? To say table should not exist, right? That is the precondition here, right? Table empty. So see table name, right? Schema name, right? And table is empty. That is the precondition we are adding, right? Unique constant exists, view exists, right? So all are, there are multiple examples you can use this, right? Now let's see our example. Okay, so to see our demo, we'll use the employee database. So in employee database, we already have in public schema, we already have few tables, right? So we have employee table, right? In employee table, we have right now four column employee ID, department ID, employee name, and employee role. We are going to add a new employee salary as a column in this employee table. Okay, and then we'll use preconditions to demo how precondition works. Okay, so this is the employee table. So let me open a query tool here and let's check the employee data in the employee table. So select star from employee, right? Select star from employee. Select star from employee. So it has employee ID, department ID, employee name, and employee role, and it has six number of rows, right? So six number of rows it has and four columns, right? Now let me go in my this is my Liquibase folder, right? Postgres Liquibase. Let me go inside Postgres Liquibase src main Java operations changelog, right? So this was the my second release, release 1.0 1.0, and it has public changelog table release, right? So in table release only we'll add the alter command, right, to alter the table, right? So this is the file, right? Now in this file, I'm going to add the change set which I have prepared to alter the table. Okay, so this is the ID add column employee table 1.0 1.0, right? So this is my ID, original ID, and this is the author, right? I've added three conditions and then I'm here adding the column, right? So adding the column, schema name is public, table name is employee. I'm adding just one column, that is employee salary, right? And type is begin type, right? So I'm just adding one column. You can add multiple column also here, right? And these are the preconditions which I have used to check. If my precondition pass, then only this add column will work, right? So these are the preconditions, right? So first precondition is table exist, right? So employee table should exist, right? So I have used table exist precondition. Then column should not exist, right? So I'm adding this new column employee cell. So this column should not exist. So I've included it in the not XML tag and I have taken column exist employee and employee cell, right? So this employee cell column should not exist in this employee table, right? Employee table should exist, but this column employee cell should not exist in this employee table, right? Next one is the SQL check precondition. In SQL check, expected result I have given as 5 and select count star from EMP, right? So EMP has 6 rows. I have given expected result as 5, right? So if we want to satisfy all the preconditions, right? So we have to give the expected result as 6, right? So table should exist, column should not exist, and the count should be 6, right? Number of employees, count should be 6, right? So if it will satisfy all the three, and in all the three condition I have kept in and XML tag, right? And XML tag, right? So it should satisfy all the three condition, then only this add column tag will be executed, right? So so what will happen if any of this precondition fails, right? So in all in AND clause, right? So all three should satisfy. What happens if any of the condition fails, right? So we have to add here on fail attribute, and on fail what you want to do? Do you want to halt, right? So suppose you have multiple change set, right? So let me just paste it here first here in the our public changelog release table file, and then we'll continue explaining it. Okay, so let me just copy and paste it here in the change set. Okay, okay. Now see, there are multiple change set, right, in this file, right? And there can be more change set after this also, right? So now I'm using halt, right? So on fail condition, I want to halt it, right? So what will happen? It will start execution and execution will stuck at this change set, right? If there is any precondition fail, right? To fail one of the precondition, I'm marking it as 4. Okay, so expected result should be 4, right? Although this table has 6 rows and my expected result is 4, right? So this SQL check precondition will fail, right? And on fail, what will happen? It will halt, right? It will halt the execution. It will not execute any change set after this, right? So let's try this. Let me just save it here. Okay. So now let me open my Windows PowerShell. Okay. So this is my Windows PowerShell. Here we'll execute the command, right? Let me enlarge it a little bit. And before doing that, let's check the database change log, right? So select star from database change log, database change log. So this is our change log table, right? Which has all the log of all the changes, right? So let's check how many rows. So right now it has 18 rows, right? And we don't have this add column employee table, right? Here. So you can see we don't have add column employee table, right? So no change set starting from A, right? So we don't have that entry here right now, right? In database changelog, right? Okay. So now on fail, I want to halt this executions, right? So let me just save it, right? It is saved, right? Now let's execute this. Okay. So to execute this, we have Liquibase run command. So I'll first cd into my changelog folder, right? So this is my changelog folder. Enter. and then let me just execute my Liquibase command, right? So this is my Liquibase command which has master changelog XML, right? And we are deploying in employee database. Postgres is username, password is local, right? And rest everything is similar. Context I have kept as prod, right? So I can keep, I am in context I have not added here. So anyway, it will execute that, right? So let's just do enter. Okay. Okay, so you can see here SQL precondition failed, expected 4 got 6, right? So this is the error it is giving, right? And the Liquibase execution has been unsuccessful, right? So it's not ran successfully, right? So it is giving an error here, right? Right? So why it is giving an error? Because we have given it here as expected result as 4, but this table has 6 rows and precondition is failing. And once precondition fails, so I am giving it as halt, right? So that's why it is giving a message also, right? SQL precondition failed, right? SQL precondition failed, right? So this is the change set, right? Reason it is giving this one, right? Caused by precondition failed, right? Now, now, since precondition failed, right? Now let's use another value. So another value can be continue, right? So continue, what continues does, right? So now if you have halt, right? So until unless you fix the issue here, right? Either you change the expected result or you fix the no number of rows in your table, right? So it will not execute further, right? It will not execute any change set after this change set, right? And when there was a error, right? So in the change log also there should not be any entry, right? Because there was an error, right? So only you can see only 18 rows, right? So until unless you fix that, right? So it will keep doing the halt, right? Right? So that is the halt precondition, right? Now there is another attribute on fail which has a value as can be continue, right? So what continue will that do, right? So continue will just skip this condition. If there is any precondition fail, it will just skip this change set, right? This change set will be skipped and it will start executing next change sets after this, right? So since precondition has failed, so I am giving on fail just continue, just execute next change set, right? Not similar to halt, right? In halt, I'm telling it to halt, right? Come out from this execution, right? So in continue, just continue next change set, right? That is the message to the Liquibase, right? So if precondition fails, you just continue next change set, skip this change set, right? So let's try this. Let me just save this, right? And let me just execute my Liquibase again, right? Enter. So this is my Liquibase chain set, right? So in Liquibase chain set here see I'm this is the add column employee 1.0 1.0. So it is saying SQL precondition failed, expected 4 got 6, right? And it is saying case of 3 1 despite precondition failure due to on fail continue, right? So it is what it is giving, it is giving continuing past, right? That means it is just skipping this change set, right? And you can say Liquibase has ran successfully, right? That means it has executed the change set which came after that, right? And it has just skipped this change set, right? So continuing past, right? Although it is giving you the message also, right? Where what is the precondition failure, right? So no, so it has just skipped your change set, right? So what happens if it skips change set, you can check the database change log, right? So in database change log also you can see only 18 entry, right? So there is no entry in the database change log as well, right? So it just skipped your change set, right? So now so this was that was continue, right? Next one would be mark ran. Okay, so there is another one which is called mark ran, right? So what does mark ran does? Mark ran means if there is any precondition failure, right? Then just mark it as ran in the database changelog table, right? So this entry, this version, right, this ID will be marked as mark ran in the database changelog, but it will not execute this, right? It will not execute the execution add column step. It will not do, right? So let's check that. Let me just save that and let me just execute it again. Okay, execute my Liquibase, enter. So let's see what happens in mark ran. Okay, so this was where is this one? This one is the add column employee table. Case of Saurabh 321 as ran despite precondition failure, right? And on fail mark ran, right? So it is giving marking change set, right? It is giving messages marking change set, right? So it has just marked that change set as mark ran and it assumed that this change set has run successfully, right? And then it has executed other change set which comes after that. Okay. So what is the difference in markran? In markran, you will see an entry in the database changelog table, right? So it has now 19 entry, right? And this is our add column employee table entry, right? And this is this entry has execution type. You can see mark ran, right? So this ID has been marked ran, right? So next time whenever we'll run this Liquibase, right? So this will not run, right? Because this has already run, right? It has marked as ran, right? Although it has not done this step, right? It has not added the column, but it has marked it as mark ran in the Liquibase changelog, right? So it has assumed that it has been run successfully, right? But it did not actually did the work, right? Which we had supposed to do, right? Because there was a precondition failure, right? So on precondition failure, just mark ran. That means just make an entry and assume it that this change set has run, right? So whenever next time we'll run, right? So this since this change set has already run, right? So this change set will be skipped, right? So that was mark ran, right? Now next one, last one is warning. Okay, so there is one more called warning, right? So in warning, if there is any precondition failure, so it will just give you a warning, but it will do your work, right? Right? But now since this change set has already marked in the database change log, right? So now to run in again, I'll just increment the change set as 1.1, right? And let's just save it, right? And now let's just execute this. Before that, let's check the employee table, right? So employee table has right now 4 column only, right? 4 column, 6 rows, right? Now let's execute our Liquibase in the Windows PowerShell. Okay, so it has run successfully. Okay, and you can see warning. See, SQL failed precondition. So there is a warning, right? So this one, yeah, this one, add column, right? So add column, case author, despite precondition failure due to on fail warning, right? So it is giving warning, right? And executing. So it is giving a warning, but it is executing this, right? So one precondition failed, it is giving a message, but it has executed, right? Let's check the database change log first. Okay, so let me check the database change log. So add column, right? So add column employee, where is add column 1.1? Yeah, this one. So on row number 14, add column employee table 1.0, 1.1. This is our the new entry, right? And you can check it as so execution type is executed, right? That means it has executed, right? So even after warning, it has executed, right? So now since it has executed, so let's check the employee table now. So you can see in employee table, the employee salary column has been added, right? So table has been altered, right? So this add column has been executed, right? So this is the precondition, guys. I hope you understood that, right? So in using precondition, you can already check, already no do your checks, right? And if your checks fails, so you can decide what you have to do on fail, what you have to do, right? And then once your all precondition passes, right? Then only your the change log which you added, right, that will get executed, right? So precondition is a good way to already check all the conditions before executing your change log, right? So I hope you guys like this lecture. If you guys like this lecture, please subscribe my channel. Thank you guys.